All right. So thank you for joining us today. I am Eric Wilkinson. I am one of the therapists in UK's Office of Work Life. And today I get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is the wellness and resiliency benefits of music. I titled this today, Music in Our Lives, Giving Us the Gift of Presence. And the reason why is because when if we listen to a piece of music that we really enjoy, or playing music, singing songs, drumming to a certain rhythm, dancing, all these activities really act to create a mindful experience where we come into the present moment, where we're really able to engage with our sensory experiences and really kind of connect to our lives. I'm going to open today with just and we're going to kind of go back and forth between looking at some of the research and why music is beneficial, and then stepping away and doing some music listening activities. For those that joined late, I did encourage you to grab a blank piece of paper if one's available, to fold it three ways from top to bottom, like you're folding it to put into an envelope. Fold it again three more ways side to side, which can create 9 squares, because we're going to do a little bit drawing during the music listening. If you don't have paper available, that's totally okay. I'm going to modify the exercise for folks that don't have paper. Okay, so music is both ubiquitous and it goes back to the beginning of human societies. Um, the composer Edgar Varese once said, "Music is organized sound." So one of the interesting and fascinating aspects about music is it exists in every known society. Music predated agriculture and most likely predated language. There's another, I think this might be in another slide, but primates are the only known primates are the only known species that are able to keep rhythm. Music is so prevalent in our society that we see it in our weddings, we see it in our movies, we play it at funerals, we play it when we're preparing to go to war, graduations, we play it at our sporting events, we play it when we're in spiritual or church settings, or when we're praying. We we use music at parties, or if we're out on a date, or we're spending time with our romantic partner. And this is culturally universal that when we have babies, we sing to our babies. We sing them lullabies. And so music is powerful in the sense that we come into this world predisposed and ready to appreciate and enjoy music. Now, the types of music we like are really influenced by the culture that we grow up in. So the culture that we're experiencing actually shapes our neural pathways. We learn to internalize the rules for music in our specific culture. And so in some ways, music is a game of expectations. What I mean by that is that once we internalize the rules for music, we can anticipate in a particular melody what note we think is likely to come next once we're familiar with a genre or culture of music. And so part of the joy of music is being able to anticipate and then have our expectations met. But it's also exciting when the music we listen to surprises us. And so when we are surprised by the composer or by the musician, it gives us this little bit of joy or excitement. Uh, Music, because of how it's processed, is processed through all regions of our brain are involved in processing music, and it is able to tap into it's processed through our brain stem. It's processed in our limbic system where our emotions are housed. We're able to experience music outside of language, and for that reason, it's actually more powerful than language at evoking emotion. Speaking about the coming into this world, uh, we do come into this world like ready to listen to our mothers or our fathers sing to us. And by the age of 5, most of us have internalized the norms for musical genres, for the chord progression norms for musical genres and cultures. For example, in Western music, one things that we learn is that high notes often convey feelings of excitement, low notes, feelings of sadness. Major chords are associated with triumphant and happy emotions, minor chords with sad or reflexive emotions. I want to say one other thing about just coming into this world. We actually start listening, and this may be another on another slide, but we actually start listening to music. We're able to hear music even when we're in the womb, even in utero, 20 weeks in. And we know when they've done some experiments, they've noticed that babies actually, as music that they hear when they're in the womb, they actually have a preference for that music when it's tested at the age of year one. Okay, so other ways that music is elicited through, that emotion is elicited through music. We know that the timbre, the specific sound or quality of an instrument or a voice, that different sounds are associated with different emotions, different instruments are associated with different emotions. One way to think about music is to conceptualize it as a sound painting. And so thinking about music as a sound painting, we know that notes and melodies, they're like the shape and form of the painting, right? And then the unique quality of sounds, the timbre, that's like the color and the shading in the paintings, in the sound paintings. It's really, when they do the neural imaging, we see that when people listen to music, there's synchronous neural firing in our brain. In other words, you can look at the neural imaging, and depending on what parts of the brain are being activated, you can tell what type of music is playing, what kind of notes are playing, and that the frequency of the neural firing actually matches up with the frequency of the note, of the pitch. And so this is one of the reasons why it's so powerful, is that in real time when we are listening to music, it is activating these emotions that are connected to our cultural expectations and just connected to the composition. It's as if we were the ones that were expressing ourselves through music at that time, even when we're listening. Okay, so I whoops, we went through that one already. Okay, so we're gonna pause this edit. If we can pause, we're gonna do a brief exercise. So if you have, so I mentioned earlier that we can start listening to music when we're 20 weeks old in the womb. We know that most people start to develop cultural preferences in their music even at the age of 2. When we start to learn what our cultural expectations are for music, we start to associate different sequences of pitches, some that elicit a feeling of calmness, others that induce feelings of excitement. I will note that one of the areas with young children that you can see when they're kind of maturing a little bit in terms of their musical preferences, there's a movement from really simple melodies that tend to be just not a lot of change or variation, to music that has more surprises. Most children at the age of 1 really prefer up-tempo music. Uh, as we progress through our different stages of childhood and into adolescence, we really see a real increase in interest in music at age 10 or 11. And so this is where kids really often start to develop an identity around the type of music they listen to, start to really express preferences. And so adolescence is a era where there's lots of exploration with different types of music, experimentation, and music takes on a really profound, deep meaning for adolescents. One of the reasons why this is there's so much activity in the amygdala, the emotional seat in our brain, the emotional house in our brain. There's lots of that activity going on during adolescence. And so listening to new music, experimenting with music, trying new songs, our brain tags these songs as really significant. We continue to explore music, and most people around the age 18 to 20 usually have a sense of what type of music they like. I will say that we can always learn to appreciate or enjoy new types of music, but this is kind of where we build the foundation of our default preferences. So, in thinking about like the role of music, it's an opportunity, it's a safe way to be vulnerable. And this really gets into a lot of the resiliency of why music matters. When we start to listen to music, we're able to explore a range of emotions. We imagine what the experience of the musician or the composer, what their internal experience in life is like. We become self-reflective. We tune inward. We also start to notice how other people respond to music. And so it's this place where we can kind of explore ourselves, also think about the world, and this this ability to feel safe in exploring emotion, it's a pleasant experience for most people. Now, safety is important because we are surrendering ourselves to the music, and so we're letting it take us outside of ourselves. It's connecting us to something larger. One of the reasons music is so powerful is that often when we're going through a difficult time in our life, and for most people, adolescence is filled with difficult moments. But even outside of adolescence, when we're going through difficult times, there's always that kind of fear that of being alone. You know, I don't want to be alone with this experience. And when we listen to music that connects with what we're feeling or narrates maybe part of our experience, we suddenly no longer feel alone. And so this time period, the on the one hand, it's just pure pleasure for adolescents and adults alike, but it also is when we're really building up our emotional intelligence. It's when we're building up our distress tolerance, our ability to hold and sit with difficult emotions. It's when we're allowing ourselves to become vulnerable. All right, we're going to, let's see if this will let me do. So as I was talking before we listened to that round of songs, that music helps us practice and play with exploring and experiencing a range of emotions. It helps provide us with social identity. It helps us form community or connection with others. We know that music can be used to provide meaning into our lives, to release emotions. Sometimes people worry, well, if I feel sad, if I play sad music, am I gonna, am I gonna feel worse? You always have to listen to what works for you. But one of the things music can do is that, again, it can let us feel connected to others, that we're not alone in our sadness. And sometimes we might be feeling some emotions that we're that we're just kind of stuck in. And so we feel like we can tell something's off, but we don't know what it is. Intuitively, we can often identify music that seems like the right music to play. And in doing that, we're able to release emotions, to move through emotions. Music can be used to elevate our mood, to make us feel better. It can decrease anxiety and depression. It can increase feelings of calm. We also know that, as I mentioned once earlier, that it's associated with empathy and the development of emotional intelligence. When we think about the physiological benefits, these are just some of them. One thing is that the hippocampus, it's associated with some of, particularly the anterior hippocampus, it's associated with some positive emotions, feelings of joy and happiness. And when we listen to music, there's an increase in hippocampus activity. We know that relaxing music, music that doesn't have that's kind of slow tempo, kind of quiet, not a lot of dramatic changes in melody. Relaxing music. Think about the music that you might hear if you went to get like to a spa for a massage, or if you're going to you listen to some music for meditation. Relaxing music is shown to decrease blood pressure, lower heart rate and respiration rate. And there's extensive, I mentioned this was from a literature review a couple years ago. Even at that point, there was 16 quality studies that documented this. Music that is selected by people. In other words, when people say the opposite of what we're doing today, I'm DJing for you. But when you listen to yourself and you select your own music and you say, this is what I feel like listening to, it reduces cortisol levels in our body. And this is whether we're playing the music or whether we're listening to the music. And there also it doesn't seem to matter, makes much difference whether or not the music is kind of calm or whether it's more arousing. When we listen to music that we feel like listening to, it lowers cortisol levels in our body. And then there's also been this evidence that immunoglobulin A, which is an antibody that helps fight off disease, that this increases when we listen to music. And this again includes a wide range of different styles of music. So those are some of the physiological benefits. Another one I did not list on there is the bonding chemical oxytocin. There's also some studies that have shown the increase in oxytocin when we play or listen to music. Music can also, one of the reasons why we find it pleasurable, enjoyable is because it activates a reward system. Earlier I mentioned just being surprised by music, both familiar music, music that we grew up listening to, that activates our reward system, but also when we're listening to something and it surprises us in an interesting way, that can spike dopamine, it can spike pleasure response. But a big part of why we love music is the social connection, and particularly if we're able to play music with people. And so in this research, there's kind of 7 ways that music activates the reward system through social connection. When we play music, we connect with others. If we listen to music or share a favorite record with family or friends, we're connecting with others. Even when we listen to music just by ourselves, again, we're connecting with a musician. Uh, when we listen to music or play music, it forces us to take into consideration the perspective of others. So this is understood as social cognition. Music, particularly when we're playing music with people, we are able to share this feeling together, a sense of empathy with each other. This increases social cohesion. We know that music is linked to being able to communicate both non-verbally, but then there's also a lot of the neural pathways that are associated with the development of, or learning to listen to music are also associated with the ability to use language skills. So there are different neural pathways, but there's a lot of overlap. Music can be used to coordinate actions. If you think about drumming to a beat or, dancing with friends, coordination of movement in a group of individuals is found to be pleasurable. Uh, Musical performance by multiple players requires cooperation. And when we're cooperating towards a common goal, this also increases pleasure. And then finally, this connection that we feel as being part of a community, there's value in that. All right, we're gonna do one more round of songs and then I'm gonna scroll these up here. If you're able to do drawings, look and see which one of your 9 drawings has the most activity, and then figure out what song that is. And then for folks that were not able to do drawings, and for the folks that did drawings, also look and see which one of these 9 songs, which one of them you gave the highest score in terms of resonating with you. So for the people that did drawings, you might have, it may be that the drawing had that with the most activity in it also is the highest score, and maybe that you have 2 different songs. For the folks that didn't do drawings, you'll only have likely have one top song. If you can, go ahead and put in the chat, if you feel comfortable sharing what song resonated with you the most, or if it was 2 songs, what 2 songs resonated with you the most. If you're able to put that into the chat. After we get a couple of those, I'll speak just a little about how you can make sense of this. Azetta, can you read some of the songs that people put into the chat?
Absolutely. Hazy Shade of Winter, De La Soul and Nina Simone. Hazy Shade and Sweet Emotion. And some others are popping in. The Bangles, Hazy Shade. De La
That's
Soul.
awesome.
Andrew Bird, Bells. Tracy Chapman Change. Let's see.
Awesome.
Hazy
I would love.
Shade, Andrew Bird, Sweet Emotions.
Cool. Okay. So the way I like to use this exercise is the song. If you were able to do the drawing, um, song with a lot of activity would say that there was something in that particular piece of music that you either that is present with you now or often is present. The same thing for the high level. The If you scored something really high on a number scale, when you listen to different songs in different that are kind of different tempos, different genres, different music, um, whatever resonates really speaks to most likely what you're feeling currently, like your current emotional experience, or the emotional state. I would even offer to say the mood that you're in most often. So for someone that said the roller skating song by De La Soul, you may be feeling either now or often you may feel kind of upbeat, energized. Um, for the Tracy Chapman song, that song has a little bit of regret, but also there's still sense of hope within it. Um, the Hazy Shade of Winter song is also interesting for the different emotions present, but it's definitely a high energy song. Sweet emotion, there's a lot of joy in that song. So this is just an example of how sometimes when we don't know what we're feeling, we can tune into the music that we are drawn to, and that can give us a clue to what's going on with us internally. So when we think about kind of big picture, the importance of music, there's a couple things I noted here. Just always remember that music connects us to other people. It connects us to our humanity. It can be used to elevate our mood if we're feeling down, or it can help us not feel alone. It can be used to decrease stress and lower cortisol levels in our body. And if you remember, what's most important about that is picking the music that you want to listen to when you want to listen to it. If you want to go for relaxation, then you would go with something like the last piece, which I know there was a small sample on that song, but something that is really minimalist, kind of quiet. And I'm gonna come off of